Hey, David Wygant live from Montauk, 10-minute daily reality check, hanging out with Brett Parker and my good friend Bryan Swerling. Got a little bit of music going on in the background. Why? Because this is going to be an education for all you millennials that don't understand that Katy Perry is just some cute little teeny bopper, okay? We're going to educate you on music, film, and other things right now because it's about time you had a little bit of a reality slap in the face. My daughter, I tried to play Dr. Dre for her. She looked at me and she says, "Change it." And I said, and I tried to explain what went down in Los Angeles during that time and what was going on, the East Coast versus the West Coast. And she looked at me like I was, well, speaking like a whole different language. If I told her that Katy Perry and Britney Spears were playing at Toys R Us that afternoon and they were going to look at the Pink Ponies, she would have said, yes, let's go. Bryan, man, you grew up in the South.
I did.
You grew up with some great fucking music.
The best.
Okay, so why is today's culture lacking? Why when we put on a we were talking before we started recording, we were talking about a classic movie, Trading Places, right?
Right.
Okay, so then why do we play that type of movie for a younger generation? And it's the visuals, just because they're so visually stimulated from the Instagram and everything is so fast moving. They're visual, they're fast, everything's cut perfect, right? Everything is high def. We play those movies and they look at us like we're 1,000 fucking years old.
Well, I think this all started back in the early 80s when video killed the radio star. MTV brought in a generation with hyperstimulation and also smash cut editing. You would watch a music video. So whereas once we listened to something on the radio, then we had a visual component to it. And then the visual component, as it evolved, became more intense. The art form became much more stimulating with very hard cuts and edits. And then what happened eventually was you couldn't watch a video that was in just a kind of a still image or one shot. It would be doon 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 doon. And filmmakers started to take that on as well. And movies have become much more intense, and they became more. I guess the word is animated, but not animated in the traditional sense of Snow White, but animated, hyper stimulated. Music has also become like that. It is. I read an article several years ago by will.i.am, and he said, "I've taken out.
God, he's a genius.
I've taken out verses and songs, and I just put a chorus on repeat, with a beat behind it, and." And that's what people want to hear now. They don't want to hear interludes. They don't want to hear solos. They just want a constant barrage of beat and melodic catches in the chorus. And that's kind of almost what some of these movies have become, which is why you don't go to the theater anymore to see a lot of great movies except around Christmas time. But you have Transformers and you have these giant movies. So the kids of today are growing up with this, with movies that are not, movies and music that are not particularly... that are so fast and so intense that when they go back to listen to something that's slower or watch something that's slower, they feel like they're falling asleep and they're getting bored. And it's actually a skill that people have to go back and acquire. I actually years ago starting to watch movies from the 20s and 30s and the 40s.
It's slow.
It's slow because the story developed much slower. And if you listen to that in something like what Frank Sinatra used to do back in the 40s or Abbey Lincoln or Bessie Smith or any of those old musicians, there was a story in the song and it developed slowly. And it wasn't, boom, punch you in the face from the get-go. You didn't have to be captured in the first 3 seconds of a song or the first 2 minutes of a movie. You let it evolve.
Well, what's happened is that if I can sort of expand on what you were talking about. When I went to film school a long time ago, pretty good film school, and they taught us that if the audience gets there before you as the writer or the filmmaker, you're sunk, right? So what happened is that with what Bryan was talking about, the smash cuts and everything is happening so fast. Think about text that people send. Think about the shorthand that everybody uses. Right? And the worst thing you can do to a millennial or a kid right now is to make them suffer through something that's not done in their shorthand because there's not that. So literally we have an entire generation, now it's a second generation, that's been raised on like the shorthand is so evident, the shorthand is so ever-present, ominous. Like everything is done in shorthand. And if it's not done in shorthand, they don't get it. They don't know how to enjoy it. They don't know how to sit back and relax. Or not, I don't want to say all of them, because there are some that do. Like I said, my son is one of them. But they don't know how to sit back and enjoy 3.5 hours of The Godfather. They don't know how to sit back and enjoy a Sinatra song because it takes long to get there, right? It's the journey. But what we've done in the last 25, 30 years is
shorten the journey.
It's like, get me there, get me there, get me there. Okay, now I'm on to the next, right? And that's really what has, I don't want to say that they don't have any taste in music. They have their own taste in music. And they have their own taste in films. But does the music have soul anymore?
No.
Do the films have soul anymore? No. I
I mean,
think so.
we are making a judgment by saying that, but we're right and they're wrong.
We are.
I mean, it's, look, kids, it's true. No, I mean, I'm serious. I mean, I never wanted to be that guy, the old guy in the room who said, well, in my day, or, you should have heard the music in my day. But the truth of the matter is, the Beatles are the Beatles for a reason, and the Stones are the Stones for a reason, and the Eagles are the Eagles for a reason. And there's a reason 65,000 people are coming out to see them 50 years later. There's just a fact, because the songs are great, and they're great melodies, and the whole world can sing along to something ridiculous as na 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 na. I mean, something as simple as that. The whole world is going to be standing around going at one time like this. But I highly doubt that a lot of these artists are going to be celebrated like that in 50 years. I mean, I know Justin Bieber's a big star. He fills up, I can't believe it, fills up stadiums. But I wonder if the whole world's going to...
He's pretty talented.
He's okay, but, he started off better. He's part of the machine, by the way.
He is part of a machine.
He started off as a cute little kid that played an acoustic guitar and sang, and they turned him into a guy,
Right.
Or he turned himself into that guy, covered in tattoos, and now he walks around the stage, and the music's electrified, and he's lip-syncing. I saw it at the Video Music Awards, the Grammys, and the rain was coming down, and he's dancing and with his shirt off. I'm like, come on,
I was on
Spectacle.
Apple Music the other day, and I love Apple Music because I can just go in and get whatever I want, and it's free, right? So I was downloading.
$10 a month.
I was downloading some music. Tom Waits, who I saw live, 25 years ago, and love his music, but I haven't listened to it in a really long time. And I found this song, and I downloaded like 10 or 12 or 15 Tom Waits songs, and I put one of them on. And within 15 seconds, I was literally crying because the music moved me so much. And it was a song I hadn't heard in 15 years. Can you imagine, somebody who's...
Oops, did it again. Right?
Is that gonna bring you to the point of tears in 15 years?
Well, what's frightening is you just did that. Oops, I did it again. I'm longing for the days of oops, or, hit me baby one more time.
Right.
That's like classic rock now. I mean, that was the mid-'90s when Britney Spears wore that Catholic schoolgirl dress and she was doing that, baby hit me one more time. I wish the poppy pop stars would make music as good as that now. And it's really gotten horrible. I'm sorry. Now you got me talking about this, but I mean, it's really atrocious. Now here's the difference. Here's what I'm going to say about this. The pop charts are horrible. What is top 20, top 40 today versus what was top 20, was top 40 back in 1968, 69?
1975.
It's night and day.
1982.
Night and day. It's night and day. Talent-wise, okay, musicianship-wise, the ability to structure and write songs.
Do you remember, let me say something. Do you remember back when you look at album covers from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, right?
Yeah.
There were some ugly motherfuckers on those album covers, right?
Alice Cooper.
Right, okay. They were ugly. Musicians were known as some of the ugliest people you've ever met, right? And the joke always was that the only way they can get laid is if they have a guitar and they have a voice, right?
Sure.
Now you look at every single fucking musician and they look like they've been chiseled out of Play-Doh.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's not one, even Lady Gaga, who was kind of a dog for a while, all of a sudden got on some fucking exercise plan and probably stopped eating sugar and fucking worked out like crazy. And actually, she looks hot now.
I think she's very attractive,
because-
actually.
I
She's
know.
very talented.
She wasn't pretty back when she started.
It's interesting, the more she's experimented and gone old school with her music, the less listens she gets on Spotify.
Yeah, but the paradigm flipped. The paradigm used to be find somebody who's got soul. Find somebody who can tell a story. Find somebody who can move you, right? And then try and make them look attractive. Now it's the opposite. Find somebody hot. And
Try to make
them look talented.
Try to make them look talented, and then you use auto-tune and whatever else you can do in the studio and make them sound wonderful.
Let me tell you, auto-tune was cute for a couple of days when Cher did it in that video. You know, if you believe in life after... she did it for 5 minutes. They're still using that stupid thing on these hip-hop songs and these rap songs. It drives me insane. It's like, can we move... Hip-hop, rap, I feel like it hasn't evolved in 15 to 20 years.
It hasn't gone anywhere.
I don't feel like it's. I feel like it's and I could be wrong, but it was evolving. It was taking shape. It was taking form. It was going somewhere from the mid '80s, early '80s, up until the mid '90s, and I think
they're still using the same curse words. Like the culture hasn't changed.
There's a couple of guys. I think J. Cole is doing some interesting stuff, moving it along.
Drake.
Drake, Jay-Z's new album is supposed to be fantastic.
Look how old Jay-Z is.
He's 50 years
I know.
old, right?
He's an innovator.
But he's kicking it.
Yeah, Jay's great. Jay's great. I love those. I saw Jay in concert. He blew me away. I mean, he's just fantastic. You know, some of those guys. But
everything is based on a physical stimulation. It's all physical stimulation. I mean, if you think about how we changed the culture, right? I mean, fucking Instagram and Facebook, picture. Even dating. Dating is picture. Swipe. Listen, people have ADD beyond belief. You know, you can't even... When's the last time you sat around, you go try to find a movie on Netflix, you spend 45 fucking minutes looking at covers, and then you say to yourself, well, that was great, I'm going to go to bed. And you don't watch a thing.
Here's an interesting thing. So we're finishing our album, and I have to decide... Originally, I had an idea of how I wanted it to lay out as a regular album, and I'm still thinking in terms of what I would, an album that we would listen to when we were kids. You structure it as a complete album in a certain order that tells almost tells a story. Sure. Not a concept album, but
the words, the lyrics. Like you read the lyrics and you sit there and you'd have the experience of it.
Right, but see, so nobody buys albums anymore, and nobody listens to albums as an album anymore. They listen to them as songs that go into a playlist, which is the most important thing now, a playlist. So interestingly, what's happened is, and I researched this on Spotify, the songs that people are listening to, the first song on the album gets the most hits. The second song gets it literally goes in that order.
Wow.
And the last songs on the album on Spotify get the least listens. So they did this with Lady Gaga's album. They saw it as an experiment, and Beyonce's, the songs progressively get, because people, their attention span, people can't even make it through an entire song anymore. They hear a song, oh, there's like great, phone rings, boom. Great. Text comes in, great, boom. Or, okay, I had enough of that song, moving on to the next song, I'm going to push forward, and I got to hear that new Jay-Z song. So what's happening is people cannot just sit down with an album anymore. And again, this is not everybody. We're talking in generalizations. We're talking about what the zeitgeist is of the culture. There are obviously exceptions to the rule. But this is the problem. So I now have to rearrange my album with what I know are the 4 or 5 best songs on my album, and I have to put those up top, whether they belong there or not. Maybe that great song would have been great as the last song of the album. Why would I put it there? Nobody's ever going to listen to it on Spotify. Nobody will ever get to it.
I'm sorry.
Nobody listens to albums anymore.
The last song on the last album the Beatles ever did?
Yes.
You just
talking about Abbey Road?
No, it's on Let It Be.
Let It Be? Yeah. Well,
the last song on the last album.
What about it?
Get Back. It's an amazing fucking song. Why wouldn't you want,
I think Abbey Road was released after Let It Be.
It was the last album they made was Let It Be.
Yeah, but I think Abbey Road was released afterwards. Yeah, it was. It was, because it was cut together by George Martin afterward. There's a bunch of outtakes.
But the last... For me, it was always Let It Be was the end of the group, right? They broke up after.
Yeah, right.
Right? Yeah. So if you're talking about the most popular songs and nobody's listening to Get Back,
right?
Get Back changed my life.
Right. It's a great song. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Right.
That's another thing too. It's like, ask modern culture, and this is something I challenge all of you listening right now. Name a fucking song that changed your life.
Right.
I mean...
Name a movie that changed your life.
Name a movie that changed your life. Name a song that changed your life. Name a song that you play that actually feels great. Remember when Ally McBeal came out? There were theme songs, right? That was a big thing about Ally McBeal. David E. Kelly wrote. It's like, what was the theme song? They all sang those theme songs. It was a big thing because David E. Kelley was always a good writer.
Yeah, a good writer for sure.
In the beginning, right? He was a really good writer, right? He was definitely very progressive. But name a theme song. I mean, think about your life, name a theme song. There's lots of songs.
Three's Company, The Jeffersons, All in the Family. There's lots of them.
But I would say, if you want a real exercise, it's going to take a few days. I mean, a real exercise. Because I know a lot of the people that you deal with are looking for themselves and trying to define themselves and figure out who they are. A great exercise is to go through your entire iTunes collection, all of your favorite songs, and try to rank them. Figure out your best 100 songs, your favorite 100 movies of all time, and narrow it down to the top 100. Don't rank them yet, and then try to rank them. You will learn a lot about who you are and what you are by figuring out what your favorite movies and songs are. Because once you identify what moves you and the top 10, you'll understand more about yourself. It's a great exercise.
Okay.
I've done it.
Okay, so let's leave it at this, okay? Favorite song that comes to mind right now. Go.
Here Comes the Sun.
Okay. Favorite song that comes to mind right now.
I've Got a Feeling.
Really?
Oh, we're both on the Beatles page.
Yeah, I like Journey, man. Some of Journey's early songs. honestly, if I had to go with one song, Neil Diamond, I Am I Said.
Okay, it's a great song.
Okay,
Awesome.
one song.
LA's fine, but it ain't home. New York's home, but it ain't mine no more.
So that song. Okay, one movie.
One movie.
If we gotta watch, I mean, right now it's raining. Love to watch a movie tonight. What movie would you pull out of the fucking reserves?
Well, I have my drama versus comedy, but I would tell you, I think the greatest drama of all time is still The Godfather, and the greatest comedy of all time is somewhere between, Blazing Saddles and, There's Something About Mary, and I mean, there's so many great ones, but as far as top movies of all time, it's going to be The Godfather. It's going to be Casablanca, in my opinion. What about you?
I'm sorry, I would say Godfather 2. Casablanca is just, I went to see the restored print of Casablanca at the Mann's Chinese Theater. It's the most perfect, brilliant, incredible story, movie, acting, writing, and it's less than 2 hours long. Yeah. It's
and the writers it was Julius and it's Epstein, right? Epstein's. There were two brothers that wrote the movie, and they said they screwed up my movie. And it's considered, I think, after Citizen Kane, I think it's number 2 is considered the best on the AFI list.
Greatest movie of all time.
It's an amazing movie with the greatest lines. I mean,
you know what I would watch tonight?
Play it again, Sam.
I would watch Jaws tonight, only because we're out in the Hamptons, and it was a movie that fucked up my childhood because during that summer that Jaws came out, I could not go in the water unless it was 3 feet deep or less because I fucking felt like a shark was going to come and bite me and destroy me. And just watching that movie and the lines that were in the movie and the way it was shot and how fake the shark was. You play Jaws for somebody nowadays, the special effects suck at it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that mechanical shark going chomp. Especially when Quint gets fucking eaten and he's just like spasming out there. You can see how fake the shark is by the way the shark is moving. Anyway, we'll see you back tomorrow, 10-minute daily reality check. Do your fucking thing, millennials, please, and spread this on iTunes and everywhere else, and like it and spread it on Facebook, because just because we're 3 grumpy old men right now doesn't mean we don't believe in social media, especially when it comes down to spreading the thing that's so great, this podcast. See ya.